But this is our main growing area, and they're all standard sized beds. I'll let Mitch talk a bit further about those, but we've been growing in this space for 10 years now, and there's various things that we've done the way we've set it up. It's about ease of movement, so obviously we could put more beds in here. There's a lot of space, well, you could say wasted, but really having people in the garden groups, we do need space for them to walk, because we don't want them walking on our vegetables, and for the classes to be able to harvest the vegetables we need. So I'll let Mitch talk a bit more about the bed spacings and how we're using them now, and what we're actually doing with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So very standard market garden size these days. It's a lot of sort of pioneering market gardeners have developed these standardized bed shapes. So the beds are roughly about 75 centimeters wide, and it allows you to pick from both sides without having to sort of overextend, so it makes it a little bit easier on the body. But also having everything standardized makes it easier for planning. So what we've actually done, we break each section up, so there's 3 beds to our left here and 3 beds to our right, so that'll be one section. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections here, and then we also break the rest of the garden up into sections. And then, so when we're doing our planning for the year, we can rotate our different crops across these different sections, so make sure that we're not putting the same families in the same beds, and so we're meeting different crop requirements. The other benefit of having them standardized is that all our tools will fit the beds. So we have a broad fork, or we have the amount of compost we need. We know that it's always going to be the same. The one thing is, because this was set up originally just as a cooking school and not necessarily as a production garden for the restaurant, there's still a little bit of difference between the size and the length of the beds, but we've tried to standardize them as much as possible, and it really makes growing vegetables much easier. So if we come on down into the garden, we'll just have a quick look at some of the crops we're growing this time of year.
One of the things I might just interrupt briefly about is our paths. So you notice our path is all wood chips, and that's served us well. As that sort of breaks down, we're able to actually put that into the soil, make it part of the soil, the growing soil.
Absolutely.
And then there's the benefits of fungi.
That's right.
Promotion of that.
Yeah, because we find fungi obviously love carbon, and so having wood chips in the garden really does promote mycelium growth. So you're getting a lot of ecological benefits by having the mulch, and also just benefits that, when it's wet and boggy, you're not standing around and slipping in mud. So it works quite well for both of us, and it also keeps down the weeds. So as we come through here, we'll see these are our broad beans, which are coming to an end. The kitchen's almost sick of potting broad beans at this stage.
I think we visually say that we're sick of it, but for us, being able to use the broad beans at every stage, it's such a Tasmanian staple. I talk about, using the leaves in salads, using the whole pods when they're young, potting them once when they're a little bit bigger, when they're beyond that, potting them twice, and then beyond that we actually dry them. And one of the exciting things we did past year was actually use dried broad beans to make a shoyu, to make a soy sauce, but with broad beans, not soybeans, and it turned out beautifully, and it's probably part of the reason why we've planted so many broad beans this year.
And there's also obviously the garden benefits as well. They're being a legume, they fix nitrogen, and they also grow really actively over winter. So it works for us, and that's why we fill up a lot of beds. When we can't grow a lot of other things, we can slip the broad beans in. They're useful for the soil and they're useful for the kitchen. As we move on, we'll see we're just starting our autumn production, so we've got little baby leeks that are going in. We're finishing on some leaves. And as we come on further, we'll see that we're seeing the beginnings of summer. So we have Jerusalem artichokes and zucchini. You'll see the interplanting with the lettuce once again. We have allium, so spring onions, and bulbing onions, which we plant in spring. And then furthest away in block 1, down the back there, are our lacy lady peas, which is the special shelling pea variety that Rodney has saved from different growers in the valley.